Hello, my name is Glenn and welcome back to the Cryptonest. Today I want to talk to you all about the Bitcoin halving, explain to you what it is, why it's important, how it will affect you, and when it's coming. So if you find that interesting, please stick around to the end. A couple things before I jump into that. I have a book that I would like to do a giveaway to you all. It's a really cool book here, created by Mr. Robert Beatles here, and it's called the Bitcoin and Blockchain Booklet. I want to give one of these away on my channel. As soon as I hit 100 subscribers, I want to do a drawing or a giveaway to give that book away. So you all could help me out by subscribing to my channel and share it with your friends. That would be great. That way I can get up to 100 subscribers and I can give you all a book. It tells you a little bit about Bitcoin and blockchain, and basically it's a beginner's guide and how to get started with cryptocurrency. I thought it was pretty cool. I got one for myself and I bought one so I could go ahead and give them back to the community. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for taking your time to be here today. So let's jump right into this now. The Bitcoin halving explained. Most people by now know that Bitcoin is only going to ever have 21 million Bitcoin produced. Unlike the US dollar that can be printed by the billions and billions by the Federal Reserve whenever they want, Bitcoin doesn't work that way. Every day, people are transacting in Bitcoin. The transactions are wrapped up into data blocks. Those blocks are put together by people called miners. Their computers put these transactions together, put a block together, add it onto the blockchain, which is a big chain of blocks full of transactions, each one leading to the next. It's immutable, it's transparent, people can see what's there, and the miners, when they are able to put a block together, when they're able to solve all of the mathematical equations required by their computer to close that block and open a new block, they receive a block reward. The block reward is paid out to them for their time, for their electricity, for the use of their hardware to support the network. So I'm going to get into this here. What is the Bitcoin halving? The Bitcoin halving is actually an event that halves at the rate at which new Bitcoins are created, and this occurs every 4 years. As many know, Bitcoin's supply is finite. Once 21 million coins are generated, the network will stop producing more. This is one of the main reasons why Bitcoin is referred to as digital gold. Just like with yellow metal, there's only a limited amount in the world, and someday all of it will have been extracted. So miners are out there mining these transaction blocks, creating rewards for themselves. So right now there's around 18 million Bitcoin in circulation, which is roughly about 85% of the total cap. But it doesn't mean the cryptocurrency is about to reach its limit anytime soon. The reason is the protocol, which has been coded into the blockchain from the very start. Every 210,000 blocks, it performs a so-called Bitcoin halving or halvening. Producing new coins becomes more difficult. Just like in gold mining, where finding new deposits becomes more challenging over time. More specifically, the protocol cuts the block reward in half. So every time a Bitcoin halving occurs, miners begin to receive 50% fewer BTC for verifying transactions. So if you were to have a gold mine out somewhere and you were digging in the ground, eventually that gold would start to dwindle. The supply would start to dwindle down as you started to reach the end of it. Similar to Bitcoin, it has a natural algorithm built in that will reduce the amount of Bitcoin produced every time based on a time frame and a block number. But what is a block reward? In short, the amount of Bitcoin a miner receives for every new block they add to the blockchain. So every time they close a block, they receive a certain amount of Bitcoin for the use of their electricity. To explain this concept in more depth, let's briefly go back to the roots of Bitcoin, the blockchain. In the most basic sense, a blockchain is a digital ledger that stores information about its transaction in blocks that are each around 1 megabyte in size. For instance, when person A sends Bitcoin to person B, this transaction is stored in a block along with around 500 other transactions that happened around that same time. A block reward is the amount of cryptocurrency that miners receive when they successfully validate or mine a new block by solving highly complex mathematical problems with their mining hardware. And it's a reward for their hard work. That's what a block reward is. And the block reward gets cut in half, as the term halvening would suggest. It gets cut in half every 210,000 blocks that goes through a so-called halvening. So how much Bitcoins will miners receive after the next halvening? Well, every new block produces 6.25 Bitcoin at inception. The reward was 8 times as much. So when Bitcoin was launched in 2009, miners were receiving 50 Bitcoin per block. Of course, Bitcoin was worth a lot less back then, but thus a total of 10,500,000 Bitcoin was generated before the next halvening took place in November of 2012, when miners began to receive 25 Bitcoin for each block. Seems like an overly generous amount, more than $365,000 per block based on the current value. But as I said at the time, Bitcoin wasn't worth near that much. But the network was only just starting to develop at the time, and no one knew for certain whether people would continue to find the concept worthy of investing their computer processing power into the Bitcoin blockchain to keep it alive. So another fact to take into account is that all-time high market price for that period was $31 for Bitcoin, like I was saying, in June of 2011. But that bubble later burst and Bitcoin went back down to $2 before the year's end. Nevertheless, mining has ultimately turned out to be much more profitable for those who got in early, which is a big part of the reason why Bitcoin critics call it a Ponzi scheme. Well, it's not necessarily a Ponzi scheme, but if you were lucky enough to know what was going on and smart enough to see the technology and see the advances coming, then I guess you deserve to be rewarded for your foresight. I mean, that's my opinion. I don't necessarily call it a Ponzi scheme. Everybody getting in today has the right and the ability to make the same amount of money that anyone else did before. They're just starting at a different price point now, that's all. So the second Bitcoin halving occurred on July 6th of 2016, and as block number 420,000 was produced, and miners began collecting 12.5 Bitcoin for every new block, which is currently the rate right now. The third halving is going to reduce that rate in half yet again, which will lower the block reward to just 6.25 Bitcoin, or around $45,000 given the current market price. Bitcoin is very deflationary. I think after this next halvening, I have to get my facts right, so please don't quote me on this, but I think I remember hearing that after this next halvening, Bitcoin will have the lowest inflation rate of any currency anywhere in the world. Less than 1% or less than, or right around 0.75%, I believe. But it's supposed to be, like I said, please don't quote me on that. But as I recall, they were saying that it was going to be the lowest rate of any currency in the world. That much I do remember. Please don't quote me on the percentages. I can't remember off the top of my head. I will look that information up, though, and see if I can get it to you in the future. When will the next Bitcoin halving take place? They're saying the week commencing May 18th of 2020 based on the current performance, but it may be May 14th. The date it's not necessarily set in stone. It depends on how fast blocks are produced. And as more miners come online and the difficulty level adjusts for the new miners that come on, the rate fluctuates a little bit up and down. So somewhere in the middle of May here, we will see the next halvening come. The date's not 100% certain at this point because the time taken to generate new blocks may speed up or slow down. On average, the network produces one block every 10 minutes. So the very last halving is expected to occur sometime in the year of 2140. As the 21 millionth BTC is mined. Once that happens, miners will stop receiving block rewards, but will keep the remaining source of revenue, which is fees paid by the transactions, which they also collect. So they're not only receiving block rewards, but they also receive a small fee for actually mining that transaction and putting it into the block, the transaction fees. Mining can be lucrative. It is a lot more difficult for this little guy nowadays than it was in the past. A lot of big corporations like Bitmain and others have come into the program. You've probably seen pictures of these huge warehouses with Bitcoin miners, and it makes it really hard for the little guy. Some smaller players might be forced to leave or at least upgrade their hardware. And at this point, the majority of Bitcoin mining is performed by giants like Bitmain, as I was just saying, the China-based company that was worth $12 billion at some point in 2018. Bitmain validates blocks with thousands of loud, extremely powerful, high-energy consuming machines called application-specific integrated circuit miners, ASICs, which are much more efficient compared to the basic setups used by students or other individuals. We're using GPUs and things like this to try to mine Bitcoin. People used to use their CPUs on their laptops. They're not nearly as powerful enough now that they have these application-specific integrated circuit miners or ASIC miners, which are designed to do one thing and one thing only, and that's mine Bitcoin, period. Not like a graphic card or something like that that has multiple uses. This does one thing only. And as the block reward becomes less significant, mining rigs that are barely covering production costs will be forced to quit the market. There will still be firms willing to mine Bitcoin at the reduced rate, but the market might become less decentralized as a result, i.e. the pie will be cut into fewer pieces. Still, new and more efficient ways to mine Bitcoin could emerge, potentially enabling smaller businesses to partake. That is one problem with the Bitcoin network, as I see it today, in my opinion, is that we are getting too many big people in the game that, sucking up all the Bitcoin they can get, making it harder for the little guy, which is part of what I thought Bitcoin was designed for in the beginning. but of course, greed is it's a human emotion. It's a human part of human nature. And when somebody has the ability to do more than someone else, of course, they're going to do so. So all we can do at this point is just go with the flow. The new miners that are coming out are getting bigger and faster. And of course, we have the option to be able to buy them as well. Again, the challenge is one person with one miner as opposed to a corporation with 10,000 miners. They're not going to be able to keep up with the hash rate. It's just the obvious truth. And historically, the price has gone up after the Bitcoin halvening. Now, we've done it twice in the past. This is the third one. In the way of trading, they say that 2 times is not a trend. Third time becomes a trend. So we'll have to see what happens this time. The market's very different than it was in the past. We now have a lot of institutional investors and things that have come into the picture. So things may not go quite the same as they did with the last 2 halvenings, although I do anticipate some kind of a price increase. I don't know that we're going to see the kind of run-ups that we've seen in the past historically. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. So essentially, Bitcoin halving cuts down the supply of Bitcoin, making the asset more scarce. If the demand is there, the price is likely to increase. There's also some historical precedents. On November 28th of 2012, the day of Bitcoin's first halvening, the cryptocurrency's price rose from $11 to $12 and continued to climb up throughout the year, reaching 1,038 from November 28th of 2013. Here's an interesting little thought that I've come to recently. During that time of 2013, somewhere around March of 2013, I invested approximately $20,000 into a truck. Just honestly, invested $20,000 into a truck that I've been driving for the last 6 years and supporting myself with, and taking care of my family and doing what I needed to do. Living the dream, as they say. Of course, I didn't know a whole lot about Bitcoin. I had heard about it, but as I said before, I thought it was all about drug dealers and hitmen. And well, we've covered that story in previous videos in the past. You can go back through some of my videos. One where I talk about free Ross Ulbricht. That would be the one you're looking for. The truck. Now here we are, 6 years later. I'm in the process of selling the truck. I've closed my business. Not because of the truck, but because insurance rates and workers' compensation rates and taxes and government regulations have increased threefold, fourfold from the time that I started driving the truck, and the income from the truck was cut in half. And so now I'm looking at selling the truck for approximately, the same as what I originally purchased it for, if I'm lucky, hopefully. Had I taken that same $20,000 and put it into Bitcoin, Bitcoin was approximately $30 in that month. I've already done the research and looked into it. Bitcoin was approximately $30 at that time. That was around March of 2013. Today, at today's prices and at today's rates, doing the math, I figured it out that same investment of $20,000 that I made back in 2013, had I put it into Bitcoin, would be worth approximately $19.8 million today. So when people tell you there's no future in Bitcoin, I beg to differ. Roughly 4 years later, a month before the second halvening, Bitcoin's price started to follow a similar bullish pattern. It surged from $576 on June 9th to $650 on July 9th in 2016 after the second halvening, the day the block rewards was reduced by half for the second time in the asset's history. Again, Bitcoin continued to accelerate through the next year, albeit with occasional turbulence, and traded at $2,526 on July 9th of 2017. Will it be the same next time? As I said, I don't know. We're going to have to see. The market is much different than it was before. Skeptics believe that the halving has already been priced in. Remember this year's epic but short-lived systematic price increase, although there is no scientific way to verify this. I am going to respectfully disagree and give a little pushback on that particular last paragraph, only because Being in the market and trading as I have been over the last year, there was a huge plus token scandal that went on where $2.2 billion of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other cryptos were stolen and have been in a steady sell-off on the market for several months now, which has been driving the price down. So I am not believing that the run-up that we saw was based on their short-lived systemic price increase that they're talking about earlier this year. I don't believe that personally. I don't think it had anything to do with the halvening. I think what was going on is some hackers or somebody had a whole bunch of Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptos that they stole, and they were very smart at since they had such a large amount, they would be very smart at the way they were able to manipulate the market, being able to drive the price up with the funds that they had to where it got to the $14,000 level when they decided to finally go ahead and start selling off so they could get their profits out from the theft that they had created. Personally, it's my opinion that had more to do with it than the Bitcoin halving, but that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. Moreover, the industry has drastically changed over the last 4 years as cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in particular became essentially part of mainstream news coverage. Still, some people might be tempted to take the chance, especially given the previous patterns exhibited around Bitcoin halvings. Consequently, if history repeats itself and Bitcoin price starts going up in April 2020, even more traders might start buying the asset out of the fear of missing out, thus stimulating the demand and ultimately the price. If that were to happen, we would probably see another run up, most likely new all-time highs come in. There's been a lot of call for $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 Bitcoin in the year 2020 by the end of 2020. I'm not going to stand by any of those. I do believe that we are going to see increases. If I had to venture a guess, I would probably say that the $30,000 bet is probably fairly safe, but this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. Please do not go buy Bitcoin because some guy on YouTube told you that the price is going to go up. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Tomorrow, the market could drop another $1,000. It's done it before. It can do it again. I have no doubt in my mind that Bitcoin is sticking around. I have no doubt in my mind that Bitcoin is going to be here till 2140 and beyond when the last Bitcoin is produced. I have no doubt in my mind that Bitcoin is going to continue to increase in value over time. I am long-term bullish on Bitcoin, big time. But like any market, there's going to be its ups and downs. Look, if you came here to this channel to listen to some guy tell you how you're going to get rich, buying and holding crypto, and next year you're going to be rich, you're in the wrong place, because I'm not going to tell you like that. I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, straight like I think it is. I'm not looking to fill people up with a bunch of hopium, and I'm not here to be a moon boy and make everybody think that everything is just perfect in the world and we're going to 100,000 this year. No, I'm going to tell it like it is. I'm going to tell it like I see it. If you don't like it, then maybe this isn't the channel for you. If you're looking for, moon boys and hopium dreams, then, there's plenty of channels out there for that. Do I think Bitcoin is bullish? In the long term, yes. Do I think Bitcoin is going to go up? In the long term, without a doubt. Has Bitcoin gone up over the last 10 years, and every time it goes up and retraces back down, ended up at a higher low than it was before? Absolutely. Do I think Bitcoin will continue to do that? Absolutely. Am I going to tell you you're going to be a millionaire by the end of the year? Absolutely not. Do your own research. Do your own investment research. Any investment you make is risky. You do stand the chance of losing any and all of your money. So please don't go buy Bitcoin because I told you so. Do your own research. Having said that, I am continuing to invest. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to continue to invest, and I'm going to continue to look for ways that I can accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. That's my plans, and that's what I'm going to do. So, having said all of that, I hope you all have enjoyed this video. I got to keep it short today, guys. I got some other things going on. Working on a website, working on some other things here. Got another business I got to try to put together so I can continue to do these videos here for you. So thank you very much for all your time. I do appreciate you being here today. go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. Click the little like button if you found any of this information helpful. I would appreciate it. It does help out the channel. I will leave the link in the description down below on this article so you can read through it yourself. There's plenty of referral links and other things down below where you can earn free Bitcoin, earn free cryptos of one sort or another. Look through the description. If you see anything there that interests you, please feel free to use my link. You don't have to. It's not required, but it does help the channel, which in turn will help me to be able to help make this channel grow and help you get more information and more education. So thank you very much for being here. I appreciate your time. You all have a great day wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I hope it's wonderful. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.